How to get an active starter bubbly and ready to bake in 9 to 10 days. Let's get started. We take 20 grams of water and add to this 20 grams of flour. This is going to be a 1:1 feeding ratio. Mix it in and I will show you how the top looks like. It's light creamy but not too thick or too thin. Make sure to keep this in a warm place and cover it with a lid. And the lid should always be loosely closed. Not too tight, not too loose. This is day 2 and we're going to repeat the same procedure that we did on day 1. I will give you 2 tips. So you have here 20 grams of your starter, and for this you need equal parts of water and flour in order to get it started and working. Another tip is to make sure that you always clean the insides with a clean wet towel so you can always see the rise and fall clearly. And now to continue, I added 20 grams of water and I'm going to mix the starter from the previous day with the water. Then I'm going to add 20 grams of flour and I'm going to mix this in. This is how the top looks like. We are going to set this aside and check in on day 3. Here you see the bubbles on day 3. It's very foamy, very bubbly. Let's stir it in. And you see it looks nice, smells yeasty, but it's still not ready. Probably we soon get a fake rise. I'm going to discard about 20 grams from this, so I will only take 20 grams of starter, add to this 20 grams of water and 20 grams of flour, like I did on day 1 and 2. Why I do this is because if you have 40 grams of starter altogether from 1 and 2 days, you have a lot of starter and very less food for it. So you have to always give equal parts to the starter so it can feed properly. This is how it looks like. We check in on day 4. Here you see on day 4, looks beautiful. You must be super happy that we have it doubled, but this is just a fake rice. Basically, you just have the bad bacteria feeding onto it and being also very happy, and this is something you don't want to use. Let's get rid of this bad bacteria and make sure starter is thriving in a good way with the good yeast that you really need. So for this, I'm going to do the same procedure as I did on day 3. I'm going to just take 20 grams of the starter and add 20 grams of flour and 20 grams of water. Here I've taken 25 grams, but you can just ignore it and stick to 20 because otherwise you will end up having a lot of discard which you really cannot use. So far we only had once per day, that is every 24 hours, but now I'm going to do peak to peak feeding. I know it's a little different approach, but this worked for me and I did it step by step here, and I'm 100% sure it will also work for you. Here you see my peak, and this is after 7 hours. We are still on day 4 and this is peaked in 7 hours, so I'm going to feed this at peak, that is approximately now at 11 p.m. It still remains peak after its rise to the top normally, so it gives you 2 to 3 hours window before it goes down again. I'm going to take 20 grams of my starter with 20 grams of flour and 20 grams of water. Mix it in and we keep it aside. This is how the top looks like. And this is my discard mixture. I will set this aside and we will check in on day 5. So here is my starter on day 5 in the morning at 8 a.m. As you see, there is no rise, but it's still bubbly. So today we are going to change something. We are going to change the feeding from 1:1:1 to 1:2:2. In this case, I will take 10 grams of my starter and put 20 grams of water and 20 grams of flour. Why 10 grams? Because otherwise you're going to waste a lot of discard which you cannot use and simply need to throw away. And why 1:2:2 ratio is because my starter looks weak and this is just going to give it a double boost. Another advantage of this is it will stay peaked for a longer time. So if you're going to work or if you have some other things to do, you can feed it on the peak window and this will be perfect because now from day 4 to day 5, you're doing 12-hour feeding and not 24 hours anymore. This is how it looks like on day 5 after the first feed. We will check in on after the next peak or after about 12 hours. So here you see my starter and it has doubled. It looks very less, but if you see my previous marker in comparison, this has doubled and the top looks like this. It's still very light, bubbly, doesn't look good, doesn't look like it's ready. So we're going to keep feeding this. And this is day 5, evening. I'm going to feed the starter at about 11 p.m. and I will check in again in the morning. So we take again 1:2:2. You can continue with 10 grams of starter, 20 grams water, 20 grams flour. In my case, I've taken 15 grams starter, 30 grams water, and 30 grams flour. It doesn't really matter on the ratios how you take it. As long as you take 1:2:2, you're absolutely fine. Make sure to mix it well. Don't let the flour have any clumps. Let it blend in well. Cover it loosely, keep it in a warm place, and we will check in on day 6 morning. This is how the top looks like. So it has already doubled on day 6 morning, and this is how it looks like from the top. It's bubbly, a little bit flat, but I will give it still a little bit time to rise, maybe about 2 hours. And this is at about 9:30 a.m. So you see it's formed a slight dome and has a lot of bubbles on the top. I'm going to stir it in and show you how the structure looks like. If you see, it's not very strong yet. The web is still very light. Not bad though, for a day 6, it's perfectly good. So we're going to feed this now. I'm going to take a 20-gram starter with 40-gram water and 40-gram flour. Always make sure to also switch your jar so it's easier for you to work with, or at least know the weight of your jar. This way you don't need to worry about weighing and measuring your starter every single time. This is how it looks like from the top. We're going to wait for the next peak or 12 hours. So let's see how it looks like at the next peak. I would say this looks amazing and it's 6th day in the evening. It's about 7 p.m. so I'm going to give it about 3 to 4 hours till it peaks completely to the top and we will see. So here you see my starter. It's much more bubbly now and this is at 11:30 p.m. in the night on day 6. So now I'm going to take this one, discard all of it, take only 20 grams of your starter, feed it with 40 grams of water and 40 grams of flour. We still don't save the discard at this point because I am not sure if this is good to consume anything. Let's wait for day 7 and if it works good, then you can start thinking about using your discard. I forgot to stir it in earlier, so here it is. When I stir in my starter, it looks very webby. Looks good for a day 6. This is how it looks like on day 6 evening. It's day 7 morning and you see the starter has tripled in size. It was at this mark and now it's almost more than double. I'm stirring it in to show you how it looks like. It's looking all the time good and it also smells a little bit yeasty all throughout my feeding process. It's also dropped down after I stirred, which is good because very bubbly. And we're going to take this, we're going to do the same procedure, 20 grams of starter, 40 grams of water, and 40 grams of flour. This is day 7, early in the morning at 9 a.m. And we continue this procedure from peak to peak or a 12-hour window. This is how it looks like from the top. The two cute tiny bubbles, isn't it? So apparently I missed the peak period here. You see the rise, the marking, and it's dropped down already. And I'm going to give this another feeding now. So I would say it's round about tripled again. This is the evening of day 7 and we're going to feed it. So you take 20 grams of starter, 40 grams of water, and 40 grams of flour. It's not really evening, it's about 11:30 p.m., almost night. And I'm going to keep this aside and check on day 8 morning. I am looking forward to this. All right, let's see the rise on day 8 morning at about 10 a.m. So I woke up late. Perfect. You see that it's doubled again, which is good, but the bubbles are still thin. Let's stir it in. Structure looks good. So what I will do now is I will take this and I will again feed 1:2:2. So I'm going to take about 30 and do 60-60, but you can still stick with 20 grams of starter, 40 grams of water, and 40 grams of flour. Repeat the same for next peak or a 12-hour window, and I will catch up with you guys on 9th day morning. Here you see this is the 9th day morning. I have done another feed in between during the night, and it's still peaking. And this is when it has a fall. So you see it rose up to this level and it fell down. And I missed the peak window, but that doesn't matter. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to feed it with 1:1:1 ratio. I just want to change it and see if it's going to work. This is how it looks like. Let's see at the next peak, few hours or 12 hours. Amazing. If you see now, you know that your starter is ready. You have uneven holes. It's still going up, rising. It's not on its peak yet. And here it's almost tripled. I gave it 2 more hours. And this, my friends, I would say is definitely ready. It's tripled in size with just 1:1 feeding. And you see all the nice bubbles. You see the top. It's perfect. I would say this is ready to bake. And if you have questions, as I said before, always write in the comment section, reach out to me and I will help you out. This is how the structure looks now. You see it's more webby. The last 2 days I changed the flour to whole wheat. And it doesn't matter if you continue with the same one. If it doesn't work, then try to tweak it or change it a little bit to the whole wheat flour. Maybe that helps. I just show you the drop because you see there's a lot of air bubbles and that's really drop to have. After cleaning the sides of the jar, I'm going to put this away in the fridge because it's still 7 p.m. here and I don't want to bake today. But before I plan to bake bread, I'm going to give this a 1:1:1 feeding or 1:2:2 based on how long you want to keep it peaked. And I will keep you updated on how it looks like. Until then, happy baking and find the flow with Dano and dough.